It's so interesting, again, the combination of this sport and this time and place. Why, as directors and as a producer, were you drawn to this particular story?
We could answer this question two ways, for the intelligent and just the child in all of us, which is when the Zullos brought it to us, we were just like, oh, yes, we're going to do this. And that's the id speaking. But when you delve into this, it's deeper, obviously. The third act sort of turnaround, it's a roller coaster of consequence. And we wanted you to feel the emotion and everything that those fights felt like in the first, 2/3, and then just sort of not make you feel guilty, but make you question it a little bit. And, we don't have the answers. We were just trying to paint, I don't know, just something that presented a very small slice in time. And, yeah. We're not talking about, melting ice caps or anything. It's like a bunch of badass dudes punching each other in the face. So, and that was cool. And that was why we were initially drawn to it. So.
That's great. I mean, was it difficult to track down the fighters and the footage?
Yeah. So, some of them are still living in, like, there's a few that we couldn't get in touch with because they were living in the woods. That's not even a joke, guys.
And Frank's basement needs some waterproofing.
Yes, a lot of the B-roll footage we had to sort of, work and coerce in the way that documentary filmmakers do. So I won't go into the manipulation of the senses, but yeah, that happened. So, but yeah.
And I'll just say on top of that, Bill's son, Bill Jr. is here. He was instrumental in providing us with, we were back in Pittsburgh for a week, and Bill just said, you got to go over to my dad's house. And we went over to Bill's house, and he came from his attic with one binder of newspaper clippings and all kinds of stuff. And I sat there with a scanner all day and scanned it. And then I was like, Bill, thank you for your time. And Bill said, that's just the first one, and came down with about 10 other boxes of binders. So we were very lucky in that Bill pretty much saved everything from his entire life, which honestly, it really helped us tell the story, and also it kept it during that time. And as the guy said, a flood, yeah. For us, it allowed us as filmmakers to not really just take archival footage and throw it in the film. We had to kind of think, well, how are we going to tell these couple of fights? And because of that, and to give these two guys credit, they said, well, I think we need a phantom shoot. And I said, well, that sounds really expensive. It
was.
All right, let's do it. And we spent a weekend in the Bronx, grabbing a bunch of fighters from you MMA fans.
Jamie Crowder in the audience played Mad Dog Moyak. Just stand up. He is part of the Renzo Gracie gym in New York City, a Muay Thai expert. Shout out to you.
Yeah, so as filmmakers, I think it was a fun process for us to really figure out how to tell the story with what first seemed like missing pieces, but ultimately made the film stronger in the end.
I'm sure there are some questions in the audience, so I want to open it up. Yes, in the middle.
When are you showing this in Pittsburgh?
Oh, God. Dude. Absolutely.
Well, what we'd like to do, for those that are from Pittsburgh, it's now called the Benedum Center, but at some point we'd love to do a screening there, which, as you guys know, or some of you know, was the Stanley Theater back in the day. So the plan is there were a lot of fighters that weren't able to make the trip here, and give them, let them see what it's all about. So yeah, hopefully at some point soon we'll be doing a screening at the Benedum.
And there may be 60-year-old men having rematches. Just
Tagano. Where's Tagano, too?
Where's Frank Tagano?
Frank,
stand
can you
up
stand
in the
up?
back.
Stand up.
Back.
Broken jaw Tagano.
There he is.
Woo! He's still got fight in him. We are working on getting in contact with Mad Dog, but he's just chilling at the bar and doesn't have a phone. So,
actually, we have no idea where Mad Dog is. So
That's
if
true,
anyone
actually.
has any idea, please just let us know. We've been trying to find him for about a month now.
Yes.
If you guys had to do again, who would you bribe?
I'll let Bill answer that one.
Well, in the very beginning, we try to do things very uppity up. If you followed the movie a little bit, you saw where outdoors people got hurt. The guys got died. They had no headgear. They had no doctors. We were so conscientious, we had actually 2 doctors. We had a physician at ringside and a physician in the training room. We spent more time with our referees, Jack Bodell and Jaquay Bazemore. Over a period of time, we must have spent 2 or 3 weeks going over every rule over and over and over. Jack knows how I am, it has to be perfect. So it'd be really hard who would bribe. But I will say one thing, if you do some research, the athletic commissioner, Regis Asatullo, right after that, was arrested and had to resign. 3 of the congressmen that went after us went to jail.
Yes.
So you can kind of, paint whatever picture they want to paint, but I have the brush.
There's certainly a lot of gray and darkness to this tale. I don't know if we'll get to this, but I think we should acknowledge the sort of awesomeness of our EPs on this project, Morgan Spurlock and Ross Kaufman. I mean, we're nascent filmmakers. We have no idea what we're doing, and to attach people who have been nominated for Oscars, and the fact that they just took interest. Like personally, I love your story about how you actually came upon this and why you were interested in the first place. If you want to take the mic from me.
I grew up in West Virginia, not far from Pittsburgh, where this all began. And in Beckley, West Virginia, when I was about 12 or 13 years old, my dad took me to a tough man competition at the Raleigh County Armory Civic Center, which when you were 12 or 13 was like going to like Mecca. It was the coolest thing ever. And I went in there, and the whole idea we went is like, all the advertisements were like, do you want to see a boxer fight a jiu-jitsu expert? How about a biker fighting a barber? It's all happening Friday night at the Raleigh County Armory Civic Center. And I was so excited, the kid, because my dad's like, you want to go see that? And I'm like, yeah. And so we went, and we had amazing seats, and like guys are getting the shit kicked out of each other. And it was like one of those moments that as a kid growing up is like so spectacular, and it meant so much to me. And to see that with my dad was a really personal, meaningful moment to me. And so when Rachel Traub, who's our head of documentaries at Warrior Poets, my production company, she's the brains of the outfit, when she said, I think you should look at this. And I watched it, and it was like suddenly I was like this 13-year-old kid again back in the Civic Center. I was like, oh my God, we have to do everything we can to help this movie, because it's so powerful. It's so beautiful. There's something so magical about just what this story stands for, and what these 2 guys wanted to accomplish, and what they did was they really lit the fuse on what has become this multi-billion-dollar MMA industry. It is a remarkable thing. So I am so proud to be a part of it, and thank you to Bill and Frank for actually like making it all happen.
And the aesthetics, we need to talk about that man right there, Brad Grimm, to paint Pittsburgh, which stand up. Brad Grimm made
Stand
this
up,
just
Brad.
beautiful. It's a dark rainbow, but he made it super beautiful as a cinematographer. We're very fortunate. And there's Robert Bauer. There's like an 18-year-old kid who was our drone operator. He should stand up too. And then Matt Kelly for the sound, all the music, like that badass synth. Where are you, Matt? There he is. There he is. So yeah, it's this was a communal effort, and just all the pieces fucking fit. So awesome.
Do we have some more questions from the audience? Yes, up in the back.
Yeah, I was wondering, Frank and Bill, if they could explain what was happening in the 70s at the time and how that influenced the fighters.
Well, what if you saw in the movie, what me and Frank did is we were promoters in kickboxing karate. And as Frank can explain also, that every time we'd go somewhere, someone would say something nasty about karate people. And we just decided to, come up with this idea. But you have to think about this. We were going to have the real Rocky. Think about this. An obscure, unknown person is going to become the most famous fighter in the world. $100,000 prize in Vegas. A nobody, the real Rocky. If you watch Rocky, it was a fictitious character. But that fictitious character was one of the most famous people you're going to ever remember. When you think of Philadelphia, you think of Rocky. So that's was kind of what our whole thought was. And I'll let Frank finish up on that.
Well, plus we knew that the timing was right, because the 70s is when the martial arts exploded in this country, and with Bruce Lee making all the films and Chuck Norris coming out of competition as the martial arts heavyweight champion, and going into the movies, it was so big at the time that we knew that it was the right time for something like this. So we put it together, and it worked out for us.
At the risk of seeming a little over-literal, why would a Pennsylvania bill, a bill passed in a single state, scotch plans for a nationwide tournament with the finals in another state? I mean, it's just not clear.
Well, so yeah, I mean that. So what happens with state-run politics? Look, like we could have painted this in so much detail. So like to simplify it and to just make this concrete. So because it's a keystone state, all of the states around it started to follow suit, and basically they enacted the same exact bill. The tough guy bill was enacted in Ohio.
It was actually cut and paste. They took our bill, cut and paste in Ohio, West Virginia. Now, if you really went into detail, me and Frank had 50 events planned that year. Biloxi, Mississippi, and all the way in Chicago, all these different places. Once Pennsylvania shut us down, the first thought was, me and Frank, we're going to go to West Virginia. We're going to go to Biloxi, Mississippi. We're going to go all these different places. We started calling these places, which we had, Frank's secretary, Meyer, we sent out what was called a teaser out. Can we come into your state and do this event? All the athletic commissioners wrote back, welcomed us, come back in. I'll let Frank even tell you a story when he went to Chicago and what happened there.
Yeah, we had some good conversations and some good meetings with quite a few of the commissions, and I had been to Chicago previously, and it looked like everything was going to go through. But once the problem came into Pennsylvania, and they stopped us here, then everything changed, because Chicago, the commissioner said, well, we're going to talk about this because we understand there's something happening in Pennsylvania where you guys are at now. We're going to have to look into it. And for whatever reason, Pennsylvania wasn't cooperating in the other states. They made it difficult for us.
So
The big word was, it was actually the word that they would come back and they would say, pending, whatever pending meant. You guys were pending. I don't know what the hell we were pending, but we never got any answers back.
So you want to know why the UFC succeeded? They were able to jump a lot of hoops. So after all of this bill was passed, and after it was just put on ice for 14 some odd years, Vegas came in with connects, and they had people on the board. The Fertitta brothers had people on in Nevada, so they were able to circumvent a lot of the bullshit. Like we could go into the gray areas, like Jimmy Svitek, our boxing guy, talks about how corrupt boxing is, and he saw the takes, he saw the cuts, and maybe they didn't pay the right people, maybe they should have pushed it to Vegas. But it's like I think Bill and Frank's reach was largely money driven. That's why Art Door succeeded. And Art Door had a crap load of money. That's why he was able to continue.
He was also protected by boxing, the umbrella of boxing in general, because that was a regulated sport. So even though it was an amateur sport, Art Door was protected by whatever protections were granted to any boxing competition there was.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Bill and Frank.
Is that McGregor?
That's not the best. I was just wondering if with such the success now of mixed martial arts, and it's that company was just sold for $5 billion. Like, is this something that you genuinely could foresee when you were, pursuing early days, this kind of competition? Do you think that did you ever have any idea that it could come to this particular magnitude all over the world?
Well, we knew it was big. We knew it was going to go big, and we had Olympia Beer, and we had some other big sponsors ready to come in with us, and we saw the future in it, and that's why we had already set our finals to be in Las Vegas, and but there was a projection for a few years in the future, and we couldn't get that far with the legalities that came up, and the amount of money that was costing us to fight them.
It was one of those things that you have an idea in your life, and you just know this is big, and you feel it's big, and we knew it was big. It was almost like lightning in a bottle. We were just ready. It was ready to explode. You couldn't imagine the excitement the first show we did. It was the anticipation, the unknown. We were doing something that no one else dared to do. Everybody talked about. They said, what happens if this person fights this person? Me and Frank had the guts and the fortitude to put this thing together and take it out. And it was so impressive, so explosive. The first show we did, we knew right then and there. After our first show, me and Frank sat down and said, we're going nationally. This is it. And of course, you know, you look back and you think we had a 13 or 14-year jump on the UFC. Where would we be today? Where would the UFC be today if they had a 15-year jump? Look at the beginning of the UFC. Their rules were bad. It was like a bloodbath. We had 11-page rules written. We took so much time that no one would be hurt and make this a new sport. And as you would think, as politics rolled along, we got steamrolled.
Bill is a horrible pitch man. Just going to throw that out there.